Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going deep, really deep, looking into the metals company, or TMC.
Yeah, TMC. They're right at the center of this whole deep sea mining push.
Exactly. They want to pull up critical metals like nickel, cobalt, stuff we absolutely need for, batteries, tech, everything.
But it's complicated. There's huge potential, obviously, but also a ton of controversy swirling around it.
That's really the core tension we found in the sources, isn't it? You've got this short-term buzz, sort of political tailwinds, big investments.
Right, that immediate appeal,
Hmm.
but then you slam into these really significant long-term hurdles. Environmental issues, regulatory question marks, big ones.
So our goal here is to try and give you a balanced picture, look at both sides of this.
Definitely. Peel back the layers.
Okay, let's unpack this then. So the sources talk about some interesting short-term things pushing TMC forward, like this potential U.S. executive order, maybe around April 2025.
Yeah, that's a potentially big deal. If that happens, it could really signal a shift, maybe streamline the path for U.S. companies involved in deep-sea mining.
How significant would that be? I mean, in practical terms.
Well, it could speed things up domestically, potentially faster than, say, the international process is moving. It shows how, political backing can really energize a market, even one this complex.
Right, and it's not just talk, is it? There's actual money moving. Korea Zinc, a major player, they bought a 5% stake.
They did. And the stock jumped, what was it, 21% almost instantly?
Yeah, exactly. And then you had Wedbush, the investment firm, bumping their target price way up to $11.
And these aren't small signals. It shows that established industry players are hedging their bets, right? They're looking ahead, thinking about where these crucial metals will come from down the line.
So it's more than just market confidence, it's like a strategic move.
I think so. It's a vote of confidence that eventually the hurdles will be cleared because the demand for these minerals is just so strong. And that kind of institutional money, it encourages others.
Makes sense. And that vibe seems to be catching on elsewhere, too. The sources mentioned places like Reddit, StockTwits.
More buzz online.
Yeah, lots of positive talk around keywords like partnership, nickel supply, something like 74% of users' betting prices go up.
Wow, that's quite bullish.
And even some technical chart indicators suggesting, strong short-term momentum, like traders are watching for a breakout.
So you definitely see this picture of an immediate opportunity, these tailwinds pushing the stock.
But there's always a but, right?
There usually is, and this is where we need to connect it back. These short-term boosts, exciting as they are, they don't really erase the fundamental long-term challenges.
Okay, so let's pivot to those. What are the big long-term issues TMC is facing, according to the sources?
Well, first off, the financials aren't exactly rosy. Despite the buzz, they reported a pretty hefty net loss for 2024, around $81.9 million.
Ouch. And liquidity, how much cash do they actually have on hand?
Only about $43 million. And remember, their costs are huge right now. Exploration, trying to navigate the regulations, but there's no real revenue coming in yet to balance that out.
So they're burning cash.
Yeah.
That sounds precarious long-term.
It creates significant financial vulnerability, yeah. It's a classic pre-revenue resource company challenge, but amplified by the unique costs here.
And then there's the massive regulatory elephant in the room. The International Seabed Authority, the ISA, they're still writing the rules.
Exactly, still hammering out the details for the mining code. And that uncertainty is a huge cloud over the whole industry, not just TMC.
How so? What specific things are still up in the air?
Well, crucial stuff, like how exactly do you measure the environmental impact? What are the standards? And a really big one, how do you share the profits with the international community, since the deep seabed is considered, common heritage?
Right. So TMC is basically aiming at a moving target. Makes planning tough, I imagine.
Incredibly difficult. And on top of that, you've got very active, very vocal environmental groups like the Deep Sea Conservation Coalition.
And they're raising serious concerns.
Absolutely. They're worried about sediment plumes drifting for miles and smothering ecosystems, noise pollution affecting whales and other marine life. These aren't minor complaints. They're fundamental questions about whether this can be done responsibly.
It really paints a picture of two completely different realities existing at the same time.
That's a good way to put it.
You've got this immediate market excitement, strategic investments, political nods.
Yeah, the short-term story looks quite compelling in isolation.
But then you have these deep, persistent problems, the shaky finances, the regulatory maze that isn't finished, and these profound environmental questions that just won't go away. It's a lot to weigh up.
It really is. And this whole TMC situation is such a good case study.
Yeah.
You know, it forces you to look past the flashing headlines.
You have to see both sides.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
potential upside, the lure of profit versus these very real ongoing risks. The core message from the sources seems to be, yeah, there might be short-term plays, but long-term, you absolutely need solid risk management. It's essential.
So here's something to think about. We live in a world that desperately needs these critical minerals for our green transition, for our tech. But we're also, quite rightly, more concerned than ever about protecting our environment, especially unique places like the deep ocean.
It's the ultimate balancing act.
So how do you personally weigh those immediate economic needs and opportunities against the potential long-term, maybe irreversible impacts of something like deep sea mining? That's the question to ponder.